The stunning passing of a legend as reaction from all political stripes continues to pour in. We'll look back at the life of Congressman Elijah Cummings.
Plus, how Congressman Cummings is being remembered on Capitol Hill. I'm Kate Amara, live in Washington.
And an outpouring of love from Congressman Cummings' constituents. I'm Lisa Robinson. That story coming up.
Live, local, late breaking. This is WBAL TV 11 News at 6.
Right now on 11 News at 6, the world is mourning longtime Congressman Elijah Cummings and his passing. The 12-term Maryland representative passed away early this morning at Gilchrist Hospice Care. We have live team coverage as friends, family, and fellow lawmakers remember the longtime public servant as a dedicated champion for his constituents and the country.
Really a stunning loss. I last interviewed Congressman Cummings in his Washington office 8 months ago, an interview that had been canceled a few times, once for his health. It was a wide-ranging conversation about his life and legacy. As a child, a young Elijah Cummings, the son of Pentecostal ministers, listened to Martin Luther King Jr.'s sermons on the radio.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
In our last interview, the congressman told me he had been to the mountaintop himself and, fighting illness, had a new sense of what that unique view brought him.
A lot of people go throughout life just assuming that they're going to live forever. And so therefore, when it comes to getting things done, they say, I'm going to put it off, I'm going to put it off and put it off. And the next thing you know, they put it off and then they're gone.
Elijah Cummings rose through the ranks of the Maryland House of Delegates to become the first black House Speaker pro tem before winning his congressional seat in 1996.
It is an honor.
A zealous orator, he spoke often of his sharecropper father, who left school after the 4th grade.
He said, son, the test of a man is not how much he helps himself. The true test is whether he helps those less fortunate.
The trajectory of his life was expansive, having integrated a swimming pool in Baltimore as an 11-year-old to seeing America's first black president.
They used to think that the only thing they could become was a basketball player or a football player. Now they know that they can become the president of the United States. Priceless.
Cummings was a vocal advocate for the poor and disenfranchised, a champion of civil rights. And when Baltimore erupted in unrest in 2015, he took to the streets in an effort to ease tensions.
We gotta go home.
Congressman Cummings said one of the most important things in his life was the Elijah Cummings Youth Program, which just marked 20 years, sending mostly inner-city teenagers to Israel, a desire, he said, for kids to see beyond Baltimore. In the last year, the public began to see a physically weaker congressman. But he continued to work long hours until the end. And 8 months ago in Washington, he told me that his prolonged hospital stays inevitably led him to ponder his own mortality.
The portion of thinking about death gave me even more so an urgency of now, and made me realize that, you can be here this morning and you can be gone this morning.
The urgency fueled his chairmanship of the powerful House Oversight Committee, with this litigator in the lead role.
When we're dancing with the angels, the question will be asked, in 2019, what did we do to make sure we kept our democracy intact?
Congressman Elijah Cummings, gone at the age of 68, battling his health with dignity and asking to be remembered with grace.
I'm hoping that they'll be able to write about me that I was a peacemaker and that I made a difference.
These comments just from 8 months ago in Washington.
8 months ago.
Very reflective he was that day.
He was, and you just wonder, as he's sitting there talking to you, did he know?
You do wonder, and we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Yeah. On Capitol Hill, Congressman Cummings fought for his constituents and oversaw investigations, including the impeachment inquiry, as chair of the House Oversight Committee.
And today, fellow lawmakers honored his memory. 11 News lead political reporter Kate Amara spent the day on Capitol Hill and is live there now with some reaction. Hey, Kate.
Well, in Congress, Elijah Cummings is widely known as one of the most popular members of Congress on either side of the aisle. Some of his best friends were Republicans. Today, House leaders and fellow Maryland delegation members tell us that they are sad. Not only has the country lost an important and powerful voice, but they have lost a friend.
So, Mr. Speaker, I will ask that we stand for a moment of silence.
The Maryland delegation leading a moment of silence in the House of Representatives for Congressman Elijah Cummings. This was a somber day on Capitol Hill.
A man of great faith, of great humility, of great humanity.
It's very sad for all of us. We've all lost a friend. I'm devastated by the loss. Conveyed our condolences of our caucus to Maya, his dear wife, this morning, and she said what we all knew: he just fought to the end.
Outside, across D.C., flags flying at half-staff, including atop the Rayburn building, where Maryland's 7th District rep had his office. Black bunting now draping that doorway, as well as, just around the corner, Chairman Cummings' seat on the powerful House Oversight Committee, where today's subcommittee hearing was postponed, and the hearing room became a place for Hill staffers and colleagues to pay tribute.
No question about it. Elijah's body was leaving him, but he never gave up on his responsibilities to his last breath.
I think if you sum up Elijah's life, a strong, patriotic individual, had a lot of national exposure because of what his leadership on government reform. But in the end, it was about Baltimore and helping the little guy, and I really respected that.
Congressman Ruppersberger was a good friend of Congressman Cummings and, of course, shared a few stories that made us laugh, including the fact that he said it seemed every single time the two of them were at an event, Ruppersberger was always scheduled to speak after Cummings. He said, can you imagine a lifetime of that? But many people we talked to today talked about what a captivating speaker Elijah Cummings was. Someone who could get people in this town, of all the towns, to actually stop talking and listen. Reporting live from Capitol Hill tonight, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL, TV 11 News.
Kate, you're certainly right about that. I have seen it in person myself. All right. And as you know, Kate, President Trump also reacted to the death of Congressman Cummings, but it's no secret that Congressman Cummings and the president did not have the best relationship. Cummings had been critical of the commander-in-chief on a number of issues since President Trump took office. He also led the charge for an impeachment inquiry against the president. Earlier this year, the war of words between the two escalated when President Trump harshly criticized the congressman and Baltimore City. This drew strong reaction from prominent figures, not only from Baltimore City, but across the country. When asked about the comments, Congressman Cummings chose to welcome President Trump to Baltimore City.
Come to Baltimore. Do not just criticize us, but come to Baltimore, and I promise you, you will be welcome. I promise you, we will give you every bit of hospitality we've got. Because every time you come to Baltimore, every time you spend a few dollars in a hotel, that means somebody in this neighborhood is working. It gives them a job. It gives them hope. It is an honor to be associated with all of these good people.
Those words from over the summer, and despite their history, President Trump offered his condolences on Twitter. He wrote, quote, "My warmest condolences to the family and many friends of Congressman Elijah Cummings. I got to see firsthand the strength, passion, and wisdom of this highly respected political leader. His work and voice on so many fronts will be very hard, if not impossible, to replace."
Andre, stunned, shocked, and grief-stricken, former U.S. Senator Barbara Mikulski said that is exactly how she felt when she found out about her colleague's death. She says Congressman Cummings always knew how to inspire people, even during difficult times.
We were all family with Elijah. You know, America has lost a giant, the 7th Congressional District, a champion, and so many of us have lost a friend. Congressman Cummings worked 7 days a week. He worked a 36-hour day. And for him, it was always about jobs and justice, jobs and justice. And we worked shoulder to shoulder on passing the Affordable Care Act with President Obama. He was always focused on other empowerment issues. And what I liked was his special feeling about young people. He would always say, worry about the next generation, don't worry about the next election.
Senator Mikulski also said Congressman Cummings would tell her not to mourn about him, but rather organize and make it better for someone else.
And Deborah, with the passing of Congressman Cummings, Carolyn Maloney will now serve as the acting chair of the House Oversight Committee. A senior Democratic leadership aide says a permanent chair will be elected at a later time. Meanwhile, Governor Larry Hogan now has 10 days to issue a proclamation to hold a special election to fill the 7th congressional district seat. The special primary election will be held at least 65 days after the proclamation. The special general election will be held 65 days after the primary. Candidates can run in both the special and regular elections in 2020. We have a lot more reaction from earlier today, from Cher to Torrey Smith and his friends and colleagues. See how everyone is remembering Congressman Cummings in the WBAL TV app. You can also watch a video from our archives when Cummings won his first congressional primary in 1996.
Long-term public servant. We have a whole body
years,
of work
right?
to look at and to reflect on.
A lawyer, State House, Congress.
Public servant first and foremost.
Right about that. All right, still ahead on 11 News at 6 o'clock.
We continue our team coverage of the death of Maryland Congressman Elijah Cummings.
Congressman Cummings' constituents shocked and saddened over his passing. I'm Lisa Robinson. That story coming up.
The Ravens try to get their new cornerback Marcus Peters up to speed at light speed, and that creates some unique challenges for everybody involved at the Castle. We'll tell you why later in sports.
Well, strong gusty winds today, bringing in some chilly temperatures. The forecast up next.
This is a part of your destiny. And hopefully, this portion of your destiny will lead to a better Michael Cohen, a better Donald Trump, a better United States of America, and a better world.
From his perch from the Oversight Committee
That's
there
right.
on Capitol Hill, Congressman Cummings speaking during the Michael Cohen hearings on Capitol Hill. And before his time in D.C., of course, he was a trailblazer in Annapolis.
He rose from the rank of state delegate to become the first African-American Speaker pro tem in the history of the state of Maryland. He chaired the Legislative Black Caucus. He was a mentor and left a lasting impact.
I remember Elijah as a fighter for the little person. He was very compelling. He would put his all into any issue that he dealt with.
But it didn't stop him. He believed in what he did. He believed in moving the agenda forward, and he believed in what was right.
Reflections today. And today, the congressman's constituents remembered him fondly as well.
They certainly did. Lisa Robinson is at his Baltimore office in Midtown with some of their reactions. Lisa.
You know, his staff was inside the office today. It was a very difficult day for them. They were consoling one another and fielding calls, and that sadness that they felt was certainly felt out here on the streets of Baltimore. Baltimore Symphony musicians showed up at Congressman Elijah Cummings' office this noon to show thanks and offer their condolences. Michael Lisicki says his passing is a loss to the community and the country.
What an advocate Congressman Cummings has been. And a lot of times I feel that we lose advocates. We need advocates and we miss them. And Baltimore needs an advocate. And that's what I think affects me the most. The symphony needs an advocate. Everybody in this city needs an advocate. He was our champion.
Marjorie Roswell went to his office to show her sympathy.
Congressman Cummings has been my congressman for a very long time. And I know that he's been upholding the needs of the people for so long, and I just wanted to express my condolences to his staff today.
Someone placed roses on the steps of the congressman's Madison Avenue home. His neighbors were quiet as they absorbed the news of his passing, many saying they were shocked with the suddenness of it all.
I think it's a great loss, for the Maryland and the city of Baltimore, and I think, it's just sad, I ain't expect it to come you know, fast like that. I don't think nobody seen it coming.
Somebody that seemed to be represented his constituents, and he didn't seem to have an issue of any impropriety in office. He didn't seem to do anything wrong. I think his legacy is great. He took care of his business. He took care of Baltimore.
You know, and Congressman Cummings is the type of person who was very personable. He cared a lot about family and about education, and on many occasions when I'd interview him, he always took the time to ask me how my daughters were, and we would have a discussion about our children. He also, during interviews, would find a way, if he had an upcoming workshop or job fair, to plug it as many times as he could. He wanted me to get out the word that he had a job fair coming up, or he had a workshop for parents to learn about financial aid. So he was always looking out for the everyday person who was working hard, trying to do the best that they can for their family. Reporting live, Lisa Robinson, WBAL TV 11 News.
Okay, 7-day forecast, a lot of sunshine tomorrow, not as windy, beautiful fall day, and great running weather on Saturday. Plus, we need some rain, so although it's a weekend, we are going to be looking at some showers come through, especially south of Baltimore Sunday, which would actually help the dry conditions just a bit.
I like that. Thank you, Tom.
All right, and we're going to end tonight's newscast with the familiar baritone of Congressman Elijah Cummings. Rest in peace.
I'm hoping that they'll be able to write about me that I was a peacemaker and that I made a difference.